everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be taking a tour of ZoomProspector, the industry's leading online GIS data site selection tool. I am thrilled to be here with my colleague, Stevie Field-Chavez. Hello, Stevie.
Hello, Elisa.
A couple things before we get started, before I turn this over to Stevie, who's going to take us on the tour. I just like to start off by showing some of the features and functionality that we're going to be discussing with you today. Many of you know ZoomProspector as really the most frequently updated and consistently innovative GIS data tool in the industry. We are very fortunate to be a service from the Financial Times. We have a whole team of in-house programmers and engineers and an R&D budget that helps us consistently innovate. So you can always count on the fact that ZoomProspector will be the most cutting edge GIS data tool for your sites and buildings, location data, community data, business and industry data. Currently, over 72% of Americans and 67% of North Americans live in territories that are serviced by our products, which is pretty amazing. We're really proud of that. In addition, more than 30 US statewide economic development organizations have selected us to represent them to drive investment. And we have clients in an additional 14 countries outside of the US and Canada. We are updating our business data every single day. It says 365. If it's a leap year, it's going to be more than that. So we are really excited because businesses are opening and closing all the time. We're working with a great partner with Data Axle that is allowing a constant feed of business data, so we can count on that. And we also are proud to be the only vendor in the industry that offers a fully featured mobile-friendly version of a tool like ZoomProspector. There's no sacrifice in functionality if you are going to be using it. So that's really wonderful. Some of the other things we're going to show you today is the intuitive design. This is another thing. This is not just a powerful GIS site selection data tool. It is, of course, that, but it's also the only tool out there that's an incredibly powerful place marketing tool. And that means it's so easy to use. This is not just for the GIS data geeks. No offense to them. I consider myself a data geek, of course, but we know that we're going to want to reach businesses and investors and folks who are not versed on difficult or complex GIS systems. We've designed this to be super easy to use, super easy to share, super easy to save. That's so important for your place marketing. We also have made our data dynamic. That means you can sort the data within reports and see it adjust on the fly. There's a dynamic radius tool, so you can drag it across the screen and have it immediately reflect in the reports the data changes. There's a share button, and that share button, I always call this our superpower. Our share button is amazing because if you have done any kind of analysis, adding map layers, adding heat maps, Stevie's going to show you how to do all that, but you can click on share and grab the hyperlink and then drive people back to that exact instance of analysis that you want them to see. This is fantastic for your marketing. It's so important for proposals, for slide decks, for online presentations, for emails, where you want to direct people's attention to a specific instance in the analysis. So you'll see there's a few other things here on the screens. We're going to talk about saving, we're going to talk about sharing, we're going to talk about the drive time, which you can customize by truck or car or walking, and also by time of day or date. So if you want to look at what rush hour looks like around this property, you'll be able to do that as well. Now with that, I am going to turn the controls over to my colleague Stevie, who is going to take you guys on a tour of some live instances of ZoomProspector. Over to you, Stevie.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for spending part of your Wednesday with us. Hopefully we allow you, I always promise one wow moment. So hopefully I am able to deliver on that. And we're just crossing our fingers that the postman doesn't show up because we do have a puppy and he does love to bark at the postman. So that's our big hope for the day. Okay. The first thing I have up on our tab, and I can, with all of these, Elisa mentioned that we're recording the webinar, and so this will be sent out to you. We're always happy to send links. All the sites that I'm on are live, so you can click around on all of the examples that we're going to show just to kind of see for yourself how they work. You can't break them, so click away. The first page I have up here is just our website, just to let you know we have all kinds of information on the different tools that we offer and how they work, the FAQs, different overviews, different blogs and help desk videos, etc. So don't be afraid to get on that and just find out some information. So we're going to start our meeting today with a tour of the Michigan site. I love this application because it's really a great use of tool placement. When you look at your own website, and this isn't a website class, I understand, but you know, I've been in economic development for a long time, 22, 23 years, and it's kind of a 2-click rule or less. If I can't find it in 2 clicks, you're starting to lose my interest, and by 3 or 4, I'm out if I can't find it. Which is, it gives you a pause to think about your own website and how things are placed. So a couple of things we'll use this. We'll come back to this site several different times, but we have the site selection tool application right here, and we have it available up here. So I can very easily find sites and buildings based on the different criteria that we enter, and then there's other features that will go on. So that's where we're going to start here at the Michigan site. I already have it brought up just for the sake of time. So a couple of key features I'm going to show, and I'm sorry, I'm going to move my little dealy whopper onto the other side. You're able to find sites or buildings based on multiple locations. So if you are a multi-regional location, we can define this geography however you like. If you're just a city or a small town, that's fine, we can have that. But again, with that multi-level region, we have the ability to search properties in different ways in different communities. We can also search by sites or buildings, various size, minimum, maximum square feet or acres, for sale or for lease, and various types of property. Little things I'm going to point out along the way, the types of property, if you're thinking about how to do this for your own community, you are not limited to what you see here. We have just every type of property you could think of and subcategories, so you could actually you can actually structure this in multiple different ways. So on any of these examples, just don't feel limited to what you see here. And then we have various filters. These include just a more detailed property search, location, maybe address or property name, always important. Again, types of property, sale price, lease rate, ceiling height. These are the property types you've selected, and then various property assets, which are, you know, something that's part of your community. Maybe you have enterprise zones or FTZs. You have rail. You want to include the ability to search something that's in a business park or a disadvantaged area. This is all customized by you. So if you have specific incentive zones or different attributes that you want searchable, we can place that in here. And then keywords, which is also an important search, believe it or not, because maybe you're just looking for something that is in a redevelopment zone, or I think we saw opportunity zone in here. So that's just a really quick way to get that search feature. So that is one way to search the application. Another way, you know, a lot of times in economic development, we find that a community or a business who's looking in our community may not necessarily care what city or town they go to, as long as they're in maybe a specific area. So I'm able to actually draw a filter around a searchable area and say I'm only searching this highlighted area here for properties. So that really limits the search, but you can see I'm way over city and county state lines. I'm kind of all over the map in there, literally, and so that will filter out everything that's not in that really poorly drawn blob, and only give me sites and buildings that meet my criteria within. Another really cool feature is the ability to pinpoint. This came in handy when I was a client of GIS planning, again, 22, 23 years ago. The pinpoint feature just allows me to drop a pin anywhere on the map in the client territory, and I can get all of the sites and buildings information from that particular pinpoint. So it really will just, it just allows me to get the same detailed demographic and consumer expenditure, and that was me. I clicked way too many times. I'm a clicker, y'all. I apologize. Same sites and same demographics, same business data, all of those same data reports, all within a user entered radius of the pin that I've just dropped. So I would get a phone call asking from a broker if I could tell them the consumer makeup within a 5-mile radius of a particular pinpoint and with of an intersection, and with that pinpoint tool I can get that to them. So it's just a real handy feature. One of my favorite things about our new platform is the ability to save properties. You can see I've already saved a couple of properties from a previous meeting. I'm going to save one more into my folder. I just have Project X. You can have any folders, as many folders as you want. Anyone who visits sites can create their own folders. You do not need to register to use these folders. As long as you don't clear your cache, those folders will stay in your system and populated with properties. So you can see I have my 4 properties that I've saved. As I'm working with the prospect, we're calling it Project X. So Elisa mentioned our share button and the magic of that share button, and she's absolutely right. First of all, you can see that my properties here are mapped on my map, so I can now visually see where these properties are located in our client geography. And I really want to get this over to the client because I think that this prospect is really going to like these properties I've had marked for them. This share button allows me to email directly in the system. I can also copy this link. I always suggest you rename your link. You don't want a bunch of code. It's just easier to just rename that in an email or an electronic newsletter. I can also post on social media. The nice thing about that is you do not need to download, and this is a really big difference between us and any of the other vendors out there. You do not need to download this as a PDF, then reattach it or attach it to your email, send it to your prospect, and hope that they get it and open it. Now I've selected and copied and embedded in my email a live link that allows the prospect to click that link and go directly into this page live on the GIS application. So now your analytics are they're jumping in. So we provide you 3 sets of analytics. Our analytics will tell you the name of the company on your website, the properties that they searched for in terms of size and type, which properties they looked at, which other reports that they've looked at. So it really gives you that meaty information, so you're able to tell that that link was clicked on and that these sites were then looked at. That's a lot of helpful information. So let's take a look at one of our industrial vacant lands here and some of the data that comes along with the application. So here, all of our properties and sites that have that are in your system will automatically come with the 360 virtual tour, map view, street view, and 3D rotation. So these are really, really helpful to give just a better perspective of where the land is, where it sits, how it sits, as we're doing our due diligence. We can include contact information here, and sure enough, here comes the mailman. I've got the front door closed, so fingers crossed, folks. We've got our contact information for our economic development organization, and it's like it's on cue. I wish I could say that I planned that. I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, it's a quick visit. So below is a description of the property. This is so easy to update. You can actually just copy and paste that from a flyer if you're entering property information. And then we have the rest of our property details in terms of site, transportation, utilities. And I'm going to stop and just answer a couple of questions that always come up when I'm talking about getting sites and buildings into the application. How do you get the sites and buildings in there? You can add them yourself. Again, as a former client, I understand that could be a little cumbersome in terms of time. You can have your brokers update their own properties. They can have their own account and update as many properties and add as many properties as they like. We can also have what we call a second tier admin level, which allows an administrative assistant or a marketing assistant add, delete, and modify properties for a particular firm. So he or she might control properties for 20 different agents. We can connect to a local MLS system if you have a local MLS or real estate association. And we also work with companies like Resimplify and Catalyst and their job is to go out and capture the properties that are in your area, and we feed those properties in so you don't have to do anything. There is always an additional charge there, but that's okay. We work with you. We have a great working relationship with these companies. And so we can always just research all of these options to find out the options that are best for you. So we saw our property card. Let's take a look at some of the supporting data. Our occupation data is provided by MZ or EMSI. It's updated 2 times annually and provides annual, hourly, and job information by both occupation and NAICS code. We have our 40 miles as well as our 0 to 60 minutes, 0 to 60 miles from any site or pinpoint of interest. And the minutes, as Elisa touched on, we've just improved this to include mode of transportation, time, and date, because you will get further in a 40-minute drive on a Sunday afternoon than you would on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock. And you need to be able to see those differences as you're doing your due diligence on this particular site or building. We have our occupations as well as our subcategories with our category in what we call report form, and we also have heat signature. So it's just another way to look at data. It's a map layer that will actually populate so I can see in various colors my more populated areas of maybe management occupations for this particular category. And you will see this little toggle here multiple times. Our map is rewriting here. Multiple times you're going to see this little toggle, and that's what that will provide you, is the ability to see in a more visual form the same sense of data. Our demographic information is provided by Applied Geographic Solutions. Our demographics, labor force, and consumer expenditure information, actually, I should say, all 3 of these reports are Applied Geographic Solutions in Thousand Oaks, California, ZIP+4 data all the way down to the block group level. So the quality of the data is still here. We have the ability, and I advise you as you're doing your own research on, vendor options, is to really check this out. I have the ability to actually view and see the data results on my screen. I can see it as it is with a map and where it is from our property. So I can shrink our size down, our information is going to rewrite, and I have a very good visual of where my 12-mile radius is around this property. We're the only GIS company that will allow you to do that. We have our heat signatures. We saw our 2021 as well as projected 2026 data. We also have the ability to look at data in graph form. Everybody absorbs data differently, and I'm more of a pictures person, so this really just allows me to capture it in different ways. These are done in your 2 primary colors, so it's all built to match your brand for your organization, and it can be embedded directly in your website. We will help you do that. And just like Elisa showed earlier, we have the magic of that share button. When I share that button, it's going to generate a link. Again, rename your link, but it's going to generate a link that will allow the recipient of that link to see exactly what you're seeing on the screen. And that includes if you've activated map layers. So I can put on different map layers for a specific area, and it's going to allow me to see all of that data just as you're seeing it here with the share of that link. So it's really a powerful tool if you're working with a prospect. A picture is 1,000 words, and this really helps you to communicate what it is you want them to see. We, of course, have the ability to download into a PDF, an Excel document, and, of course, print if you're attaching it with a particular proposal. Again, ZIP+4 data, labor force, consumer expenditures, it's all just different categories broken out in the same type of format, updated 2 times annually, and again allows us to view the data on the map and look at in many different ways to include sharing the information. Our wage and salary information is brought to you by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it is updated annually. It is by MSA, so we have our mean and median hourly and annual wage information, which is brought to you with categories and subcategories. And our business information, which is my favorite report ever. Our business information, as Elisa mentioned, is brought to you by Data Axle. It's formerly Info USA or Info Group, all the same company. They are the big guy in this industry. We have the ability to look at data 0 to 60 minutes, 0 to 60 miles from any site or pinpoint of interest. So this report's going to get pretty meaty with the different little clusters here. You can see it stops at what I assume is the state line. We can also program clusters, so pay attention if you're on a site like this to look at your cluster map. And we have our different categories here that are broken out, so I can really get into the weeds on specific information. So I'm interested in maybe finding out our professional, scientific, and technical service companies. I'm curious where some of our engineering offices are, and so I'm going to click on that with my mouse, and it's going to take me directly into the report that shows me just engineering firms and where those firms are located on a map. So I can really see where's my competition, where are my suppliers, where are the other businesses made up like mine, or where I know I don't want to be necessarily close to. So this I can see is a really good site to build my engineering firm, and I'm close enough that I can kind of keep an eye on them, but not so close that they can see who's walking through my door. And then again, share that information. So if you're working with a prospect who's interested in finding out where some of the other manufacturers are, you can create a report just like this with just a few clicks. You can expand it, you can minimize your search radius, and the information will automatically rewrite. And the information, the business data, is updated daily. As Data Axle updates their information, your information will update immediately. So you don't have to worry about having to update this data on your own. It will update automatically for you. Our talent information is brought to you by the Bureau of Education, and there's another word, and there's some kind of mental block I have on that word. I apologize. I can never remember it, but it's the Center for Education and Statistics, I think, or something. It is updated annually and will actually map out your learning institutions. You can see here how I'm clicking on the different dots, and it's providing me with our learning institutions, our universities. I also have a breakdown of our top 5 programs by number of graduates, as well as our top 5 universities by number of graduates, and then a breakdown of universities, field of study, our graduates, and with which degree our graduates are graduating with, and from which learning institution. So, I mean, you're really answering the question about the talent graduating from your local universities being able to meet the needs of your prospects. And finally, we have our city and county data. Our city and county data is going to be an aggregate of all the data that we just saw. It's interactive, and it will provide us information like population, median age, population breakout, age distribution and how that may have changed over the years, population growth, and education attainment. It just kind of goes on, and again, this information is able to be shared so you can see it, you know, and really kind of give someone an idea of what your community looks like. Now, this data, if you're a multi-regional organization, you can also explore by communities. We can break the communities up, so you can search by geography, city, county. You can sort by name, population, labor force, multiple ways to search. Again, do not hesitate to click buttons. And for any of the communities that you have properties, we'll have a Find Properties button, so you can actually find the properties. And if you're searching for communities in a multi-regional area and you want to give that site selector or end business decision maker an idea of maybe where to look, you can also heart and share different communities. So there's multiple ways to use that, that heart folder and that heart share button. Now, Compare Communities is a really cool tool. Elisa mentioned that we're always doing something new. I am so proud of this company because we really try and do something new every 2 to 3 months and push it out to our clients. And when I'm saying something new, they're usually really big, cool features. So this is one of them. I've chosen a couple of communities just kind of at random, understanding that they're not all kind of apples to apples, but when you look at, you're looking at population and bachelor's degrees and household income, it's really interesting how communities stack up. I can choose any community as long as I start with a community within the client territory, and then I can choose any community across the US. And we know our competition isn't necessarily the community right next door, so this really allows us an apples to apples comparison across the board. I'm going to click my comparison report button, and it's going to give us a true breakdown based on the demographic, labor force, and consumer expenditure data of these communities side by side. So I can see population, how they stack up, age, how they stack up. What's really interesting, consumer expenditures. You would think that these communities would be really kind of a little bit different because of the population difference that we had with East Lansing being the smallest community, but look at how that stacks up in terms of consumer expenditures. It's a lot closer than we might expect. So we've got some spenders there in East Lansing. So it's just a really great way to kind of compare, and you're allowed multiple comparisons. And we've been in this industry a long time. Never hide the data. The data will come out. It's really great to just be able to say, look at how we compare next to this one, this community X, Y, and Z. You're really getting that information out there. So I'm going to go back to the Michigan site, and I'm going to talk about a couple of other things real quick, and then we're going to go into map layers. So we have the site selection application. One of the things that we do for you at GIS Planning is we also provide you the same data that's inside of the GIS application, and we give it to you so you can embed it in other areas of your website, completely separate of the application. So you no longer have to come up with demographic information. You're using the same demographic information we give you inside the tool that we just saw, the application, but you can put it anywhere behind a demographic button on a completely different page outside of the tool itself. It's a really cool feature. When we're talking about a 2-click rule or less, it's also how you break up your information. So here we have redevelopment ready information, opportunity zone information, building sites, energy ready. I click this button and it's going to take me directly into the GIS application, showing me only sites or buildings within a specific enterprise zone or opportunity zone, or that are energy ready or build ready. We can do that for any label of property that you have, and we'll help you do that. So if you really want some buttons like this, behind these are just links. We can help you generate those. You just decide what your headers are. We can sort the information to make sure that this information is, it goes exactly to the place that you want it to in the GIS application. You are able to banner featured properties or shovel-ready properties recently added, and we can program those banners to come up first on the application. And then we provide you with a handful of map layers. I mean, a good chunk of map layers. And so if you don't add any map layers, you still have several to choose from. However, we can connect directly to your ArcGIS server and capture those layers automatically. This is Waco, Texas. Chip and Joanna Gaines. I mean, if I had a show of hands for all of us who watched that show, I mean, what an amazing, don't we all wish we had a Chip and Joanna in our communities? They really just solidified Waco's place on the map. And so we have Waco here, and I've got some map layers turned on to show me what size water and sewer lines go up to each individual parcel. That is huge data. So I'm already able to see, I've got, my surrounding engineering firms, maybe I've found a perfect property that met my criteria. I know what the consumer expenditures are and the other businesses in the area. And now I'm able to see that all of the improvements are already there. And what size pipe, does that meet the criteria that I need? So, and once again, I have that share button so I can share that information so my prospect can see exactly what I'm looking at, and my analytics are able to track that they were actually on my website looking at the data that I sent them. A couple of things I'd like to bring up about this application that I love so much. I've got 2 ways to look at this. So when I go to Waco Prospector, before I've really activated any buttons, you can see they've got this pop-up. For those of you who are not 100% public funded, this may be an option for you. I'm asked quite regularly about offsetting the cost of an application. Even though we're super affordable, I understand that money is tight and we have to do more with less. And so this is a really great way to offset the sponsorship of an application. We've put the little pop-up here with their logos. We have their logos and links up here at the top. We can even put this site brought to you by someplace down at the bottom of the application along with your contact information, so that we have really multiple ways to get to your sponsors and they're getting a real true bang for their buck. And you have a way to offset your application. I also have South Carolina Power Team up because they've done some really cool things. So they commissioned a labor study for the state of South Carolina. I'm actually in South Carolina. I'm here in Columbia. And so what we've done, or what they've done, is they took the labor study information. We at GIS Planning were able to get the raw data with consent of the power team and of the consultant, and we were able to take this information. I don't have a site or building identified yet, so we're able to take this information and we were able to transfer this into an interactive tab on the site that allows me to get this information, and just like in the regular data that we saw, the demographic data, I'm able to look at this in multiple formats. There's even an explanation of what this data means, so I'm really able to kind of capture the purpose and the results of what this labor study did for the state. So you have that option as long as you have the raw data. If you've commissioned a specific study, we'd love to see what you've done, and we can always add that as a separate tab. Another thing they did, which is just a really creative map layer, is they did a water sewer study, and we have this in the form of a shapefile. So we were able to actually see the data. I should have probably had this drawn up. We were actually able to see the data on the map and watch how interactive this is. So we can see our excess wastewater capacity. This is going to be a full explanation of what that means, which is super helpful. Contact information. I turn this off. I go back and click again, and it's going to actually show me on a map my different options. And you can see here, and I can click on that and actually get a little bit of who to contact, a little bit of information about this, who the utility is, the cooperative name. This is an electric cooperative here, and some data about that. So I always suggest get super creative with your map layers. I think that's really important. Lisa, I'm going to take a minute here, take a breath, and ask if we have any questions or if there's anything that I need to still cover.
We do have some questions actually, so I'm glad you asked. Okay, so I'll go through them one at a time. Am I correct in understanding that the occupation data, demographics data, I guess all the different data reports only appear for a specific site? So I guess
they appear for a specific site, and they also appear by community. Right. So you don't need to do anything. You can search the data by community and get all of that same information. You can drop a pin and get all of that same information, so you do not have a site or building chosen, and you can also search by site or building. So all of that information is available.
Excellent. Okay, so you can view it one way or another. And I actually really like the Explore Communities tab, because to me, you can link just to the Explore Communities tab for any one of the communities in your area, which is great for your SEO, but it also is really powerful all for your community stakeholders. When I look at our clients' Google Analytics and lead gen ID data, they are getting a lot of visits to the community data. And that's because I think a lot of investors and businesses, first they're looking for the community that best suits them and meets their criteria. Then they're looking for the property, sites, and buildings, because everybody's got a warehouse or retail location somewhere, right? So I really see Correct. A lot of visits going specifically to Explore Communities. Okay, great answers, Stevie.
And we can put those different tabs. You can embed those different tabs in places in your community, so everyone gets to the place they need to go. We can help you create this link, so you have that you can embed in your website someplace else, so people can get to that with that one click.
Exactly. And one of the things that I like is that certain clients add additional ones. So as you can see, Michigan has added workforce. I see Wisconsin also has a workforce tab and even a certified sites tab. So those are shortcuts that get added to the top tab. If you have something you really want to drive attention to, let us know, and that becomes a possibility as well.
Perfect.
So another question, can the clusters that are listed for selection be changed? There are key industries that are missing, and I love that. So Stevie, I'll let you talk about custom clusters or target clusters that you want to highlight.
Absolutely. So this is just a different example. It's the same map feature that you see inside of the GIS application. This is just one of those intelligence components that we talked about. If you recall on the page where we had it all broken up, this is one of these others, the dynamic mapping one specifically, that's meant to live in other areas of your website. So all of them together build a complete website. What we did on this particular one is we turned on specific data for business. They provided us the NAICS codes and what they wanted those key industries to be called. And so we created those key industry buttons and actually turned on the business data for them, so only those key industries would show up. So I can now visually and interactively see where these businesses are located. So we can do this inside of the GIS application and on the intelligence component, which is meant to live outside of the GIS application. So most of you, I should say, because it's one of those economic development kind of 101 things, we all have the button on our website that says key industry or larger industries or however you define it. And so this just allows an interactive way for people to see. And again, just like inside the GIS application, it's updated every day. Every day that Data Axle updates their information for your region or your community, this information is updated. So you don't have to do anything. It just lives in the place that you put it. We'll work with your web team to make sure it's in the right place and has the right numbers. But yes, you can define your, for example, key industry data by providing us the NAICS codes that you want that make up that cluster, and we can turn those on for you.
And I've seen people do that within ZoomProspector as well. So if you have custom clusters that you would like to add in the ZoomProspector tab on the business report, then that is possible as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We recognize that every economic development organization is going to have these target sectors that they really want to drive in for people's attention to, and so that's something that is absolutely possible. Another question here, Stevie, and just a reminder to everyone that if you have other questions, you can put them in the questions field on the GoToWebinar control panel. I loved your example of the water and sewer lines. Actually, yeah, that's just a fantastic map on Waco. I'm going to have to bookmark that one to show people. But there is a question about that. The water and sewer lines and capacity don't appear in my map layers. How do I get that information?
We can connect directly to your GIS, the ArcGIS server with your city or county and get that information. Some communities, and I can only speak for where I was in Southern California at the time, my communities didn't want this information out there. Now, that was quite a while. I think that some of those restrictions have maybe lapsed a little bit or aren't quite as strict. And so if your community has that, we can either get this information in the form of a shapefile directly from your GIS department, or we can work with them to establish that connection to the ArcGIS system. So what we need from you is you can help set that meeting up with us and them so we can get the information, or they will understand that we need it in the form of a shapefile. And I can't ever say it enough to get creative with your map layers. If you are, if you've got a lot of tourism in your area and fun things to do outdoors, I would put bike paths, I would put walking paths, I would put whitewater rafting paths, whatever you've got, I would put there. Bowling Green, Kentucky actually has music venues. And so I can see the name of the music venue by looking at the little treble clef. So instead of like a little water spout like we saw in South Carolina Power Team, they had a little treble clef that I was able to click on and see the name of that music venue and how many, the capacity that that venue had and the name of it. So I would just put as many map layers. It really answers a lot of questions for those who are looking to expand in your community. And as you can see, y'all, I am not a techie. I am not a GIS quote nerd. I am an economic developer at heart, and I fell into this fell into the career of economic development like so many. This was not primary training. I learned it as just clicking around, and because it's not an intimidating system to learn. You want something your mom and pop businesses in your local community, because you will be surprised from your analytics how many are already within your community that are looking at potential expansion opportunities and at specific data. But those looking at your community, most everybody is not a GIS guru. So we need something that's easy to navigate, that is pretty, that you can just kind of click things and get the information. And this certainly allows you to do that. But those map layers, and we can program the application so the map layers come up upon entry into the site, or even when you click a button up here in the title bar, the map layers would then activate. So there's multiple ways to do that, or very simply like what Conway did here with the map layers. You could have pages like this that talk about your utility lines within a specific community. In fact, here's one for opportunity zones. What we did is we took the opportunity zone city boundary here, the census tract, and the opportunity zone boundary, and we put it on so now I can visually see where those opportunity zones are. And then behind these buttons are links. So it takes me directly into the GIS application, showing me only sites or buildings in an opportunity zone. So we can absolutely set it up like that for you.
Excellent. So there's clarification on the layers question. How do we actually add layers? And I guess if you're already a GIS planning client and you're interested in adding additional layers, the best thing to do is to reach out to us at support@gisplanning.com. And we will make sure that we set up a meeting to walk you through what that looks like. This is what we pride ourselves on, our client services, and we're there to help you figure out what are the questions you have to ask, who do you have to connect us to, and how can we help make this happen from the information that you've got. Nicole, I've made a note of your name, so we'll reach out to you after the webinar to see if we can be helpful to you. I don't see any other questions coming up right now. I think you did an amazing job, Stevie. Just a reminder that we have been recording this session, and I'm going to reach out to all of you by tomorrow with a link to this video so you can review at your convenience, reach out with any questions, share it with any colleagues. If you are already a GIS planning client, you may not know this, although I know we've promoted it in some newsletters, but we have a fantastic help center that is built into the back end of your admin. And once you're logged in, if you click on the help center, you can start, it's organized by product, by topic, and you can start typing in a question. It will bring up all the articles that are about that specifically. So for example, how do I connect to my Esri server? How do I add local layers or local data or property assets that are important to our community? We have a lot of information in there, and of course it makes it easy to connect with us if you have any questions. I think, Stevie, we have come to the end of our time today. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, if you're interested in finding out more information about your community and how this would look for your community, give us a call or request a demo. You can, Elisa will share our contact information. Let's look at what your website has now and how these tools all can fit in it. Sometimes it's just having someone walk you through to give you an idea of the picture of how you could set this up based on some of the things that you have in the industry you have. Don't be afraid to contact us. We can certainly help you with that. And as Elisa mentioned earlier, we come out with new tools every 2 or 3 months, which is pretty fabulous. The new tool that we have coming out, I think the end of next month, is going to blow your socks off. It's a really, really cool feature. Yeah, it really is. And so we can talk more about that one-on-one, but other than that, we'll have a meeting or another webinar like this, kind of rolling that out at the beginning of the year. So make sure you watch for that.
Excellent. Thank you all for the work you are doing for your communities. We appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. Stevie, it is always a pleasure to do these with you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. And everyone, we wish you a blessed Thanksgiving holiday as you share this with your family. At least for those in the U.S., I think you already had Thanksgiving in Canada, correct?
Yeah, but we can still be
Oh,
thankful. We are still thankful.
everybody, we all have a lot to be thankful for. There's no doubt.
Thanks and have a great day. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.